What's up, guys? Alex from Inner War Strength here. Check out this Iron Dissident tee in navy and with that sick orange and white print. Get it from innerwarstrength.com. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about suffering and how it can be a conduit to self-discovery. Um, so pain, in a way, and by pain, I don't mean necessarily just physical pain. I mean, you know, strife, suffering through life, whatever it is, um, maybe you went through some tough times during your life. Uh, everybody's been through certain tough times, one way or another. I think everyone has their cross to bear. Um, some more than others, of course, but that's not the point. The point is everyone's been through something here and there. And I think that some of those experiences that you can survive can actually, teach you a lot about who you are. So suffering kind of it has a way of it's kind of like a progressive overload when you're training, right? Stressing your body makes your body adapt, right? And it's the same thing psychologically. If you go through some kind of ordeal, you will learn something from that ordeal. You will adapt, so that maybe you'll learn to avoid those kind of situations again in the future, and also learn a thing or two about how people can be, and how about yourself, and how you react to certain situations, how you deal with certain situations, and learn that maybe the way you dealt with some things wasn't the best way you could have dealt with it. Um, and that way you learn in the future to kind of quickly identify patterns of behavior, not just in other people, but more importantly yourself. And once you've learned to kind of identify those patterns of behavior in yourself, you can take steps towards altering them, and then altering essentially um, your nature, right? I don't believe that human beings are kind of blank slates. I think that everyone has some degree of inherent qualities, inimitable qualities, let's say. I mean, it's just pure genetics. I mean, it's there's some people who are tall, some people are short, some people are, you know, some people have long femurs, some people have short femurs. I mean, it's just simple as that. Some people have dark hair, some people have light hair. You know, it's just how it is. And I believe that also plays a role in um, your a lot of behaviors that you might have. Some people are just inherently anxious. Some people are just naturally prone to depression, right? Myself included. I've figured that out by myself, that I'm generally kind of kind of prone towards negative thought, negative thinking, and pessimism. And in a way, that's for me, that's sometimes a good thing because it makes me see things a little bit more realistically. But on the other hand, it can be sometimes, demoralizing. But anyway, I digress. My point is that if you can identify certain patterns of behavior in yourself, and certain ways of thinking that hold you back, or certain ways of behaving that hold you back, you can take steps to change them, and then improve your behaviors for future situations, right? In similar situations in the future. I mean, um, I'll give an example. Maybe you are in a toxic relationship or an abusive relationship or something, right? And when you're in those kind of situations, you oftentimes don't actually know you're in like an abusive situation. It'll take somebody else to point it out to you and say, "Hey, you know, that person you're with is, there's something not right with them. They're not treating you right." And that happens more often than we think. um and it's very hard for the person in that situation to recognize the situation, right? There's a saying that they say, like, if you're in the picture, it's very hard for you to see the frame. Okay, But sometimes somebody else who, is on the outside looking in, they have a more kind of objective view on the situation. They can point some things out to you. But at the end of the day, you may or may not be able to see these things. From my experience, it's very hard for somebody to see the things that other people are telling them they see. Um, you just oftentimes that person just has to kind of see them for themselves, and that takes a while, and a good degree of suffering. But the point is that at the end of that, you learn something, right? You learn something about yourself, and you learn something about how other people can be, and you learn to identify these situations. I'll give you an example. I had a friend who was in a very toxic relationship with somebody who had a lot of mental problems, and you know he could see that some of these things were off, but he was so blinded by his attraction towards this person, and by all the other emotions which were associated with the relationship, that um, he couldn't see the reality of the situation, which was that it was a toxic it was a seriously toxic relationship. um, and when he did eventually come to that realization, it was devastating. It was absolutely devastating. um, and we've all been in similar situations, right? I've been in a similar situation too. um, but the good thing is that he learned from that, and I learned from my situation as well. And he's never going to put himself in that situation again. And also, a good thing that you learn to identify certain red flags along the way, as well, with these kind of things. Um, so suffering is inevitable in life anyway. One way or another, you're going to suffer. That's just how it is. Life is tough, man. Unless you were born with a silver spoon up your ass or something, and you have it easy. But even then, there's no guarantee. So life can be pretty tough, and for most people, it is, one way or another. So you know you're going to suffer, but the good thing is that you can, to a certain extent, you can choose how to suffer. Okay, and my suffering of choice is strength training. And don't get me wrong, it's fun. It can be fun. It's fun, but believe me, there is plenty of suffering involved, especially when you got a heavy squat on your back, and you're going down for that fifth rep, and you don't know if you're going to make it or not, and you grind it out, and you feel like you've been coming up for an eternity, and you don't even know if you're coming up, and you're almost going to black out. Believe me, that's not fun. But every time you make that last rep, you learn something about yourself. All right, and this is one of the things that I love about strength training. More generally, is it teaches you persistence. It teaches you to to keep going through the shit. All right, to keep going through the suffering. Um, and like I said, it's a suffering that you can choose. Um, I'm not saying that all suffering is good, of course, but what I'm saying is that for the most part, you can come out of it on top. All right. And I'm not saying that's the case for everybody. I mean, there's plenty of people who've been broken by life. I've met people who've been broken by life. It's not pretty. And I don't want to make light of anybody's suffering. And I don't want to make light of anybody's, trauma, or um, past experiences and whatnot. Right. But the good news is that you're still here. And the fact that you're still here should tell you something. It should tell you that you're resilient. Um, and the fact that you're here in the first place is indicative of the fact that the people who came before you went through immense hardship and immense suffering throughout through millennia, through generations, for you to be here. All right, so you are inevitably, you are in you are a product of suffering. you know so um So yeah, suffering. can be a conduit to self-discovery and self-mastery as well. So embrace the suck, all right? Embrace the struggle. Don't let life crush you, right? It's easy to give up. It is easy to give up. Everybody's wanted to give up at some point. I've wanted to give up many times, right? But I'm sure you have many reasons not to. Um, so yeah, um, stay with it. All right, that's enough. Join the war against atrophy at innerwarstrength.co, and I'll catch you next time.